This is easily the best Druid build of the league. It deals insane amounts of damage. It's fast as hell. It has massive clearing abilities. It's tanky, and it clears all content with ease. Abysses with increased pit difficulty, easy. Breaches, easy. Any pinnacle boss in the game, barely worth recording, cause they die too fast, but yes, easy. Group temples, even without headhunter buffs, easy. Your wife, easiest of them all. And it also has the added benefit of being chill as fuck too, as it's basically a one-button build. And in this one, we'll cover everything you need to play the build, regardless if you're on a budget or not. Because what you're seeing right now is not a budget build, but with a few easy swaps, even you bunch of dogshit newbies should be able to play it. So, first things first. What are the skills and support gems used in this build, and how do they interact? Let's check them out, shall we? I'm rocking a plant oracle setup, but with some important changes. If you saw my top PoE2 builds video, then it's basically the same as the Reap oracle build by my lovely friend Jala, but without Reap. We're playing Entangle as our one-button skill. We're then using our cock to spawn thrashing vines along with overgrowing both of them via Thunderstorm, also spawned from our cock, making it so we don't actually have to press them manually, making the build way more smooth. When it comes to the support gems, we have branching fissures, allowing our Entangle to branch additional times. We're then rocking accelerated growth, which allows our Entangle to spawn a flower that explodes when overgrown. And since we're an oracle with 100% crit, we're going to cast a shit ton of thunderstorms, ensuring that we always overgrow our entangles. So for the entangle damage, you essentially have damage from the fissures, the vines, and the flower bombs. We then boost it further via Zenith, URL's Embrace, which also allows us to break armor for more physical damage. Then we have Atalui's Bloodletting. Since we have insane mana costs of our skills, we're using this and Life Leech instead of spending mana. And since we're making sure our entangle costs a fuckton, we in turn get a fuckton of damage. Then onto our cock. Since we're playing Oracle, we get 100% crits via Inevitable Critical. We're ensuring permanent uptime on both Thunderstorm and Thrashing Vines. To boost the damage of Thrashing Vines, we use Fluke, Zenith, and then have Life Tap to transform the mana cost into life, or else we'd run out of mana instantly. And the reason we don't want to run out of mana is twofold. First, we'd fucking die, because we're using Eldritch Battery. But also, we're stacking mana for Archmage. I'm currently sitting on 4,000 mana, and Archmage grants me 4% gain as extra lightning damage per 100 mana. So if we do some quick maths, that should amount to, yes, a fuckload of damage. To be able to use both Archmage and cast on crit, you'll need a total of 170 spirit, and that's really the only decision you'll have to make for yourself how you fix that. The best way to solve it is getting 70 spirit by getting spirit on your amulet and helmet. I can't afford that currently, so I used an Against the Darkness with spirit. This is also quite expensive though, but there are other options, and I'll write them down in the planner as well in case you forget. The easiest is just grabbing this dogshit helmet and you're done. 100 spirits solved, easy, but the helmet is complete garbage, so yeah. 3 actual proper ways of doing it is getting spirit on your amulet and then having a grip of Kulamac with this mod, as long as you get some actual good mods on it, or getting an actual proper energy shield and mana helmet with a spirit corrupt on it. This is the best option if you need additional defenses. My favorite option, though, is using a scepter as offhand. In particular, Palm of the Dreamer for extra clear or Sacred Flame as a more budget-friendly and higher DPS option. There are some other options as well, but those are my favorites. And if you have any spare spirit for some reason, then I'd use Mana Remnants. Alright, on to the final skills again. To reduce the spirit costs, make sure to quality these bad boys up and get a Diala's Desire. You can also buy gems with extra quality, It helps out as well, of course. Next, we have Elemental Weakness, which I'm using on bosses, where removing mainly the Lightning Rees becomes important due to the Archmage bonus. To boost it, I'm using Cursed Ground, Heightened Curse, Life Tap to remove its mana cost, efficiency, and Focused Curse. Then, for the final two skills, we have the ones we gain from our gear. We get Life Remnants from our body armor, and we boost it via Remnant Potency and Harmonic Remnants. The Spellslinger works by you, gaining energy via your spells, and you unleash it for extra spell casts. And the skill of choice is Entangle. We then boost it the same as we would our usual Entangle, with Accelerated Growth, Branching Fissures, Fluke, which grants us some extra damage, and Life Tap to transform the cost into life cost instead. Alright, so that's the skills. Let's check out the gear now. When it comes to the gearing, you're more or less just looking to copy-paste my setup. The only one you may want to swap is the helmet, in case you're on a budget. The rest, you just look for the same ones, lower the stats if you're on a budget, or switch one or two stats out so you get them cheaper. Alright, and starting with the helmet. I only give a shit about the +4 to skills here. Ideally, you'd get crit chance here as well, but I wanted to save some cash. For the rings and amulet, it's all about just getting as much maximum mana and life as humanly possible. The only thing I'm looking to replace here is the fire res with some cast speed or rarity. And of course, if you're rarity stacking and not playing in a group, then you'd go for a rarity ring and some extra rarity on the amulet. For Anoint, I'm rocking Cooked for extra damage. Fast Metabolism is nice as well if you like the instant leech. For the body armor, this one's mandatory because you need the spell leech. Then, look for increased maximum life. When it comes to boots, it's all about movement speed and energy shield. We don't actually use energy shield, but we'll transform it into mana via the passive tree. Equally as good as energy shield here would be an actual mana roll, of course. Just grab whatever is the cheapest. The same goes for the gloves. Either go for energy shield or mana. It's important that you grab this roll though. Chance to gain Arcane Surge. You can get it in the passive tree as well, but desecrating it saves you 4 nodes, and crafting gloves like these is deterministic and easy unless you've got the IQ of a goldfish. Oh, sorry, I forgot who I was talking to. I may need to write a guide for it. I'd also like to mention that if you don't have Arcane Surge gloves and instead grab it in the passive tree, then these bad boys are fantastic budget gloves. Finally, we have Headhunter, where you grab one with at least 1 resistance corrupt, or 2 if you can afford it. And then the weapons, and yet another reason as to why mana stacking is so overpowered. This league, you can corrupt these bad boys and grab both increased crit chance and increased damage per 100 mana. So this item grants 240% increased damage from our mana alone. But also 120% damage from max life and 120% crit chance. That's pretty fucking good. You can also get a 4th corrupt here for more crit via max life, but that shit's expensive. So prio the 2 mana mods, followed by the max life mod, and then lastly crit from max life. For the final item, we have our weapon. I managed to grab this one cheap, so you probably won't be as lucky. Instead, prio spell ranks, and then as similar stats as possible. But you can swap mana for spell physical damage, the gain does extra damage for any other gain, etc. Don't just copy-paste, because the prices always skyrocket when there's a new video out. I also like having the spell Slinger, as you can save up 5 entangles using this, and use them all at once for a solid nuke. And finally, when it comes to the flasks and charms, I'm using Olroth's, which is a slight defensive boost, Laviangas for extra mana regen, then freeze and stun immunity, along with literally any decent rite of passage. I have the Wolf for its movement speed and skill speed. Great job, friends. Gear and gems complete. Only the passive tree left. Let's check it out, shall we? Starting with the Ascendancy. Oracle is just the best ascendancy in the game currently. We get inevitable critical for permanent crits, and then we go for the unseen path for all the extra nodes and entwined realities for some sneaky passive allocations. Starting us off, we head downwards, grabbing as much int as possible. We grab a crit cluster along with another crit cluster, where I'll grab Calculated Hunter as my next node before finding our first jewel. I'm mainly using sapphires in this setup, as the good megalomaniacs, etc., have become outrageously expensive. And these are pretty much the perfect stats to look for, but you can also look for crit damage or triggered spells deal extra damage, for example. After grabbing this, we go back to find some strong spell damage nodes for oracles only, along with Arcane Nature, which is one of a couple nodes that you'll need Arcane Surge for, which is why we discussed it earlier. Keep moving down, grab the crit cluster and Arcane Surge if you don't have it on your gloves, and grab the Wild Surge incantation for disgusting amounts of damage, along with additional spell damage nodes. Here we also find Mind over Matter, so we don't fucking die, along with some good damage nodes and even more Arcane Surge bonuses. After that, we fuck off to Narnia, where we find Eldritch Battery, transforming all of our base energy shield into mana. We also have some banger nodes here, like Arcane Intensity, granting more than 100% increased damage, along with some damage and mana nodes. Over here to the left, we also find my most important jewel. Important why? Because it makes me more or less immortal when mapping via mana on kill. Make sure you grab this somewhere. I have a couple hundred mana per second regeneration when mapping, but this one takes regen to a whole other level. Alright. We then grab some more damage and mana nodes before taking the From Nothing Diamond with Resonance. And speaking of Resonance, here it is, allowing me to grab for the Jugular and True Strike for more damage. And finally, we have my Against the Darkness jewel with Extra Spirit. I grab enough nodes so that I can use Archmage and Cock, where I get some extra damage bonuses along the way. If you're not using this jewel, however, and instead use one of the other spirit generators we talked about, then you'd slot a Darkness jewel with gain as extra damage here instead. And if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, then you skipped ahead in the video and should be ashamed of yourself. Anyways, we finish this whole thing off with grabbing Staggering Palm for extra damage and a Thrashing Vines jewel. Entangle would be better, but that one costs a goddamn fortune. And just like that, we're done with the passive tree as well. Let's check out how you actually play the build. Spoiler, it's probably one of the easiest builds you'll ever play. When mapping, you do one thing and one thing only. You press the Entangle button. Yep, don't even bother doing anything else. If you're playing with the Spellslinger wand, then you can save up 5 stacks and use it whenever you need. I usually save them for when I need to nuke a mini-boss or something. Then when it comes to bossing, it's more or less the same, with some minor differences. We're always going to drop down elemental weakness before the boss spawns. If you've stacked up enough Spellslinger stacks, then you should one-shot him. If not, you just keep spamming Entangle at range until he dies. Alright, and with that, we're done. A quicker video than usual, probably because we're using half the skills, but lovely nonetheless. Drop a sub, become a channel member so I can afford some new PoE2 cosmetics, and I'll see you in the next one.